Hi, I'm Lennox Fairchild, 28, and every single Christmas my family insists on their perfect luxury getaway. This year it was the lodge at Edgewood, Tahoe, the kind of place where one night costs more than most people make in a month. We'd barely pulled up to the grand entrance when my younger brother Brandon grabbed all the key cards from the concierge, scanned them, and flicked one straight at my chest like it was garbage. Room 12B. This one fits your whole factory worker vibe way better than the rest of us. Basement level. No windows. Pipes groaning overhead. Smells like damp concrete and old laundry. My parents didn't even try to hide their smirks. Dad looked me up and down and said loud enough for the valets to hear. Without us paying, you wouldn't even make it past the front gate of a place like this. Brandon high-fived Haley. Riley was already filming on her phone. Everyone laughed. I just picked up my suitcase and headed for the service stairs. No arguing. No scene. Yet. If this already has your blood boiling and you're dying to see how the tables turn, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell right now, because you won't believe what happens when they finally realize who actually owns every inch of this resort. I stayed quiet the whole way down those dark stairs, but only for now. 8 o'clock that night, the main dining room was already lit up. The Carter family table sat dead center under the massive antler chandelier. Mom, Dad, my younger brother Brandon, his girlfriend Haley Brooks, and my little sister Riley Carter, all glowing like they belonged on a magazine cover. My seat a wobbly two-top shoved right next to the swinging kitchen doors where every waiter kept slamming into my chair with trays of steaming plates. Brandon stood the second the sommelier walked away, to the 2-story penthouse suite with the private balcony over the frozen lake. $6,500 a night, and I'm covering the whole damn trip. Haley lifted her arm, flashing the black Birkin that had been all over her stories since takeoff. And to this beauty, Togo leather gold hardware, $85,000 delivered yesterday morning. Riley already had her phone in selfie mode. Carter family Christmas dinner, let's go? Say hi to the reject table in the corner, Lennox. Mom laughed into her champagne. Dad shook his head like I was the family's favorite running joke. Brandon leaned forward, voice carrying 3 tables over. So remind everyone, big sis. Freelance illustrator still pulling in, what, $200 a month when the client actually pays. Haley snorted loud enough for the couple beside us to glance over. I think my nail tech makes more. Riley zoomed the camera right on my face and whispered into the mic. This is going viral tonight. I opened the leather-bound menu and didn't look up. Enough. Dad jumped in, fake curiosity dripping. Come on, honey. Last we heard you were doing little Etsy prints for startups that disappear in 6 months. Corporate branding for Fortune 500 clients now, I said, turning the page. Brandon rolled his eyes so hard the whole table saw it. Right. That's why you're sitting by the kitchen like the help. A server dropped a bread basket on my tiny table, did a double take at my face, then practically ran away. Mom waved her fork like she was conducting an orchestra. Order anything you want, sweetie. Brandon insisted on picking up the entire week. Yeah. Brandon cut in, grinning at the main table, except whatever sad garden salad Lennox picks. That one's on her own card. The table exploded in laughter. Riley posted the clip before the appetizers even hit the table. I ordered the Japanese A5 Wagyu Tomahawk, 72 ounces truffle butter white truffle side, $225. The waiter didn't blink. He just nodded and murmured, "Excellent choice, Miss Fairchild," low enough that only I heard the last name. Brandon heard it too. His grin vanished. What did he just call you? Nothing, the waiter said and disappeared. Dad launched into his usual speech about how Brandon and Haley were killing it, flipping luxury properties, while Mom nodded like a proud stage parent. Riley kept narrating every reaction for her followers. Halfway through the first course, the executive chef himself walked out in crisp whites. He ignored the main table completely and stopped right beside me. Miss Fairchild, I took the liberty of adding the fresh white truffle shavings you prefer on the scallops. Is everything to your satisfaction tonight? The entire table went dead silent. Brandon's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Haley's champagne flute hovered an inch from her lips. Mom's eyes went wide. Riley's phone was still recording, but now it pointed straight at Brandon's reddening face. I gave the chef a small smile. Perfect as always, Daniel. Thank you. He inclined his head and walked away. Dad cleared his throat 3 times. Since when do you know the executive chef by first name Lennox? I cut another scallop. I know most of the staff here. Haley forced a laugh that cracked halfway. What, you designed his menu once? Something like that. Brandon slammed his napkin on the table. Cut the mysterious bullshit. You're nobody in this place. Another server appeared out of nowhere, refilled my water with San Pellegrino, used my last name again. Then the sommelier stopped by just to ask if I wanted anything from the reserve list. Then a third employee checked if the temperature was to my liking. By the time the tomahawk arrived, 6 different staff members had stopped at my table, each one more deferential than the last. Brandon leaned all the way across and hissed, "Whatever you're pulling, stop it right now. You're embarrassing us." I finished the last bite of Wagyu, wiped my mouth, and stood. Night, everyone. Big day tomorrow. As I walked out, the maitre d' actually opened the staff door for me and whispered, "Good to have you home, Miss Fairchild." Brandon heard every word. His face said the pieces weren't connecting yet, but they were about to. Snow started falling hard the next morning. I walked straight to the concierge desk at 8:15, ready for the private ski lesson Brandon had sworn he booked for the whole family. The girl typed my name, frowned, typed again. "I'm so sorry, Miss Fairchild. Every single activity under Carter was canceled at 2:07 a.m. Private slopes, couples, spa, snowmobile tour, everything." Of course it was. I asked for new slots. She winced. "We're fully committed through the 29th. The wait list is 230 names long." Brandon had made sure no one else could slide in, so I claimed the only seat left in the entire resort, one leather armchair beside the 30-foot stone fireplace in the main lobby, smack in the middle of the traffic lane between the elevators and the slope entrance. And there I stayed for 7 straight hours. The family came down in waves, dripping in new Moncler and Bogner. Brandon led the charge in a white Canada Goose parka, Haley on his arm, in matching fur-trimmed everything. He spotted me instantly. "Still here, thought you'd be hiding in your dungeon." Haley smirked. "Some people just don't know how to vacation." Riley snapped a photo. "Lobby Princess Day 1. Dad walked past without breaking stride. Try not to embarrass us on the mountain, Lennox. Just sit there and stay warm." They disappeared through the glass doors into waiting private snowcats. I opened my laptop, answered emails, and watched the fire. 10 o'clock, Brandon and Haley breezed back through for cocoa. Brandon made a show of checking the slope report on the giant screen above my head. "Perfect powder day," he announced to the entire lobby. "Too bad not everyone gets to play." Haley sipped her drink. "We just wired the $18 million deposit on the new chalet in Aspen. Cash. Closing February. 4,500 square feet, private gondola." Brandon grinned. "This place is gonna look like a Motel 6 next to it." A passing couple overheard and congratulated them. Haley glowed. They left again. Noon, the group returned for lunch at the slopeside restaurant I could see through the windows. I didn't move. 1:30, they came back, laughing faces red from wind and champagne, at the Mid-Mountain Lodge. Brandon stopped dead in front of my chair. "You seriously haven't moved? That's next level pathetic." Haley leaned down, fake whisper loud enough for the bellhops. "She probably can't afford a lift ticket." Riley filmed every second. I closed my laptop. "I'm fine right here." Dad shook his head. "Don't make a scene. Just keep a low profile so we don't have to explain you to our friends." They headed upstairs to change for afternoon spa appointments that were also mysteriously unavailable when I checked. 3 o'clock. 4 o'clock. The lobby filled with guests returning from the cold, all throwing me curious glances as staff kept drifting past. A concierge I didn't recognize stopped. "Miss Fairchild, would you like lunch sent over? Or perhaps a quieter lounge?" I smiled. "This is perfect, thank you." He hesitated, then walked away. 5:30. The family returned glowing from massages and facials. Brandon carried shopping bags from the boutique. He dropped into the chair opposite me like he owned the lobby too. "You sat here literally all day, Jesus Lennox." Haley scrolled her phone. "I just posted the couple's suite. You should see the hot stone tables." Riley flashed her screen a boomerang of the 5 of them in plush robes, caption, "Family Spa Day, -1. Mom finally spoke. "Lennox, tomorrow is Christmas. Try to look less miserable." I stood and stretched. "I'm not miserable." Brandon laughed. "Could have fooled me, sitting by the fire like the resort charity case." The front desk girl caught my eye from across the lobby, gave a tiny apologetic wink, and mouthed, "Sorry." Brandon saw the exchange. His eyes narrowed. "Why does she keep looking at you like that?" I picked up my laptop. "No idea." He opened his mouth to say more, but the private dinner bell rang upstairs. They walked off, bags swinging, already planning tomorrow's helicopter tour. I watched the snow stack higher against the windows and reopened my laptop. The rest of the house was still asleep after last night's open bar. I slipped out at 6:20, boots silent on the service corridor carpet. No cameras watched these halls. They never had. I knew the route by heart from childhood summers when Grandma Eleanor still ruled everything. A plain wooden door at the far end of the west wing, no plaque, no external handle. I pressed my palm to the hidden biometric pad. A soft click. The lock remembered me instantly. Inside, time had frozen. Dark walnut walls, cold stone fireplace, the faint trace of cedar and lavender still hanging in the air. Her massive partner's desk sat exactly in the center leather chair, pushed in, like she'd just stepped away. I went straight to the watercolor of sunrise over the lake, the one she painted the year I turned 10. I swung it open on silent hinges. The heavy steel safe stared back untouched for 15 years. Euro 6-14, 1958. Her wedding date. The dial turned smooth under my fingers. 1 full rotation left 2, right 1 left. The door released with a low thunk. 3 items waited inside. First, a thick cream envelope sealed with red wax, her personal crest pressed deep. My full name in her razor-sharp cursive, Lennox Marie Fairchild. I broke the seal. "Lennox, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you finally came back. At 19, Brandon stole $9 million in casino markers across Vegas and State Line. He forged my signature on every single one. I paid it all to keep him out of federal prison, but I drew the line at ever trusting him again. I banned him from this property that same week. Your mother has been secretly repaying me ever since. $4 million still outstanding as I write this. She begged me to forgive him. I never did." I set the letter down, hands steady. Second item, a 2-inch stack of bank transfer receipts. Diane Carter to Eleanor Hayes Family Trust, 42 monthly wires over 7 years, each annotated in red ink, Brandon. Final warning, Brandon. Do not tell Richard Brandon. Last chance. My mother had been hiding this for almost a decade. Third document, heavy ivory stock, gold embossed corners. The Irrevocable Trust, dated March 15, 2024. Sole beneficiary and successor owner, Lennox Marie Fairchild. Assets, transferred 100% ownership of the lodge at Edgewood, Tahoe, and all subsidiaries. All real property licenses, operating companies. Net proceeds from sale of Fairchild AI Holdings. $320 million USD. Grandma Eleanor's signature dominated the page. Beneath it, a yellow post-it in her handwriting, "You were the only one who never asked for anything, Lennox. The only one who listened. This was always yours. Use it well. GEH." I stood there while fresh snow tapped the frosted windows. Everything finally locked into place. The strange glances from every employee, the chef calling me by name, the concierge offering private spaces, the biometric lock opening like it had waited 15 years for my palm. Brandon had been legally barred from this property since he was 19. Mom had been laundering his debt in secret. Dad probably still thought the resort belonged to some distant corporation. I photographed every page, every receipt, every signature flash on high resolution. Then I closed the safe, swung the painting shut, and locked the office behind me. On the way out, I passed an early housekeeping cart. The woman pushing it looked up startled, then smiled like she'd been holding that smile for years. "Merry Christmas, Miss Fairchild," she whispered. "Merry Christmas," I answered. By the time I reached the guest corridors, faint sounds of the family stirring drifted down from upstairs. A shower started running. Someone laughed. I slipped my phone into my pocket, every piece of evidence secure in the cloud, and headed for the private elevator that only 2 keycards on the entire property could summon. Mine still worked on the first try. The doors closed without a sound. At 3 sharp, someone pounded on my basement door hard enough to make the pipes rattle above my head. I opened it. Brandon shoved straight past me without a word, Haley right on his heels, clutching a thick black leather folder like it was the last life jacket on the Titanic. Brandon kicked the door shut with his heel. "We need 5 minutes. Sit down." I stayed standing. "You've got 3. He dropped the folder on the tiny desk, flipped it open, and slapped his palm on the top page. "Family company is hemorrhaging. One whale investor pulled out this morning. We need a $12 million bridge loan that closes tomorrow at 9. You co-sign the personal guarantee, the bank wires the money crisis over. Everyone eats." Haley's eyes instantly filled with perfectly timed tears. "Lennox, please. This isn't just about us. Riley's tuition. Mom and Dad's retirement, everything collapses without this." Brandon cut in, voice low and dangerous. "Sign the fucking paper. Don't play hero and don't make this harder than it has to be." I picked up the document. Personal guarantee, full recourse, $12 million, my name already typed in bold on the signature line. No one else's. I looked up. Question 1. Why is my name the only one on the guarantee? Where's yours, Brandon? He shifted his weight. "It's a Carter family holding company. Your credit is the only clean one left." I flipped to page 8. Question 2. 4 million wires to a Cayman account controlled by BCH Holdings the exact same day, the loan funds. "BCH Holdings, is you correct?" Haley went corpse pale. The tears vanished like someone flipped a switch. Brandon's jaw clenched. "That's operational liquidity." I turned another page. Question 3. 3 million scheduled to pay off existing casino markers at 3 different properties, also due the day the loan closes. That's 7 million gone before the company sees a cent. So tell me again how this saves the family. Haley took 2 steps back until she hit the wall, hand clamped over her mouth. Brandon's face cycled from red to purple. "You don't know what you're talking about." I pulled my phone out, slow and deliberate, and started photographing every single page, front and back flash on high resolution. Brandon lunged forward. "What the hell are you doing?" "Reading very carefully," I said, voice ice cold. "I'll let you know my decision." Haley grabbed his arm, voice cracking. "We need this signed today, Lennox. Today." I finished the last page, closed the folder, and slid it back across the desk. "I'm not signing anything today." Brandon towered over me. "You think you're better than us? You think you can just sit this out? You need this family a hell of a lot more than we need you." I didn't flinch. "We'll see about that." He snatched the folder so hard the desk jumped. "Fine. Rot down here. When the whole thing crashes and burns, when Mom and Dad lose everything, when Riley drops out of school, remember this exact moment. You could have stopped it." Haley tried one last desperate smile, mascara already smudged. Lennox, be reasonable, please. Brandon was already yanking the door open. Come on. She's fucking useless. The door slammed so violently the overhead bulb flickered. Dust drifted down from the ceiling like dirty snow. I turned the deadbolt, uploaded every photograph to the same encrypted cloud folder that already held Grandma Eleanor's trust, the casino receipts, and the 7 years of Mom's secret payments. Then I exhaled for the first time in 10 minutes. 4 hours until the Christmas gala. That night, the grand ballroom glittered under a 12-meter Christmas tree and crystal chandeliers. 200 guests in black tie filled the tables. The Carter family sat front row center right beside the string quartet. I walked in alone, black silk dress, no jewelry, except Grandma Eleanor's watch. Every conversation paused. The maitre d' appeared instantly. Miss Fairchild, your seat is on the owner's dais. He led me up 3 steps to the single table on the elevated platform. 1 chair, 1 place setting. Dead center stage. Brandon was already deep in the tequila. He saw me take the seat and stood glass raised to the entire room. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce my big sister Lennox. His voice boomed. She's spent 28 years living off our charity, and tonight, she gets the best seat in the house. My sister literally belongs scrubbing floors in a place like this. Laughter rippled. Phones shot up. Riley zoomed in. Haley smirked behind her champagne. A waiter materialized at my side and poured from an unmarked bottle. 1996, Screaming Eagle Miss Fairchild. Decanted 2 hours ago exactly as you requested. $15,000 bottle. Brandon's grin vanished. What the hell is this? Another server placed white truffle risotto in front of me, shaved tableside. The scent floated across the dais. Brandon slammed his glass down. She doesn't even drink red. Who authorized that? The sommelier bowed toward me. Miss Fairchild, standing order, sir. Brandon swayed. Standing order. She can't pay for the cork. I lifted the glass, took a slow sip, and set it down. Careful, Brandon. I said, calm enough for the hidden microphone to carry every word. You're embarrassing yourself in my house. 200 forks froze. Brandon blinked. Your house? I leaned forward. Every employee here works for me. Every light, every bottle, every inch of marble under your feet. Mine. Silence swallowed the room. Haley whispered, she's lying. I continued, voice ice. You've been trespassing on my property since the 23rd. Grandma Eleanor banned you 15 years ago when you racked up $9 million in casino debt and forged her signature. You just never got the memo. Gasps echoed. Brandon roared. This is bullshit. I looked at Ethan standing beside the stage. Ethan, please confirm ownership for the room. Ethan's voice rang clear. Miss Lennox Marie Fairchild has been sole owner since March 15th, 2024. Brandon lunged, knocking over a chair. Turn that screen off. Security appeared from every door. I stood. Walk out on your own, or be carried. Either way, you're leaving tonight. He took one more step. Guards caught him mid-stride. Haley cried out, pulling at his sleeve. Dad's face went white. Mom clutched the table. Riley's phone finally dropped to her side. She'd stopped recording. Brandon thrashed. I'll sue you for everything. I looked down at him. You already lost the moment you walked through my door. Security dragged him out. Haley stumbled after them. Dad stared straight ahead. Riley stood frozen. The quartet started again, barely audible. I sat, took another sip, and let the room try to pretend Christmas wasn't ruined. At 9 sharp, Ethan walked into the breakfast room and announced an urgent family meeting in the private boardroom. No one argued. Mom looked like she hadn't slept. Dad's face was gray. Riley kept staring at her phone like it might save her. Brandon stormed in, last eyes bloodshot, Haley trailing behind, clutching a latte she clearly didn't want. We filed into the windowless boardroom none of them had ever noticed before. Long mahogany table, 12 leather chairs, one screen already lowered. I took the seat at the head. Ethan stood to my right. A silver-haired man in a charcoal suit entered carrying a thick leather briefcase. Gregory Langford, Grandma Eleanor's personal attorney for 40 years. He didn't sit. Gregory opened the briefcase, removed the ivory-bound trust, and began reading in a calm courtroom voice. This is the last will and testament and irrevocable living trust of Eleanor Margaret Hayes, executed March 15, 2024. Article 4, Section 2. Upon my death, 100% ownership of the lodge at Edgewood Tahoe, its subsidiaries' real property licenses, and all associated assets shall pass immediately and exclusively to my granddaughter Lennox Marie Fairchild. He turned the page. Article 7, Section 1. Brandon Richard Carter is permanently and irrevocably barred from all trust properties due to misappropriation of funds in the amount of $9 million in casino markers in the year 2019. Any attempt by Brandon Richard Carter to enter trust properties shall constitute criminal trespass. Brandon shot to his feet. This is fake. Gregory didn't look up. He clicked the remote. The screen lit up with Grandma Eleanor's handwritten letter blown up large enough for the back row. He is never to set foot on the property again. Next slide, bank wires. 42 transfers from Diane Carter to Eleanor Hayes Family Trust over 7 years. Each annotated in red ink. Total paid $5 million, balance remaining $4 million. Mom made a broken sound and covered her mouth. Gregory continued. Article 9. Section 3. Any attempt to encumber trust assets with personal debt shall be considered fraud. Yesterday at 3:12 p.m., Brandon Carter and Haley Brooks presented Miss Fairchild with a forged personal guarantee for $12 million intended to refinance existing gambling obligations and divert $4 million offshore. He clicked again. My photos from the basement room filled the screen, every page of the contract, every highlighted line. Haley dropped her latte. It splashed across the carpet. Brandon screamed, "Turn it off." She set this up. Gregory closed the folder. The trust is irrevocable. The transfer is complete. Miss Fairchild has been the sole owner for 9 months. All reservations made under the Carter name for the past 3 days were accepted in error. Dad finally spoke, voice shaking. Eleanor left everything to Lennox, nothing for the rest of us. Gregory looked at him almost kindly. Not 1 share. Not $1. Riley started crying loud, ugly sobs. You knew. All this time you knew and let us treat you like trash. I met her eyes. I knew last night. Brandon lunged across the table. You bitch. You planned this. 2 security officers stepped out from the corners and caught his arms before he reached me. Mom was on her knees now. Lennox, baby, please. We're family. I stood slowly. Family doesn't steal $9 million and expect to get away with it. Family doesn't hide debt for 7 years. Family doesn't try to forge my signature on a $12 million fraud. Brandon thrashed against the guards. I'll sue. I'll fight this. Gregory smiled for the first time. The trust contains an in terrorem clause. Any challenge forfeits all contingent benefits. You have none, so feel free. I looked at each of them in turn. You have 30 minutes to pack and leave my property. Security will escort you. Anything left behind will be donated. Dad tried one last time. It's 20 below outside. Then you should hurry. Riley was still sobbing. Haley looked catatonic. Mom reached for me. I stepped back. Brandon spat curses the entire way out as security dragged him through the door. The room emptied fast. Ethan closed the door behind the last guard. Gregory gathered his papers. Anything else, Miss Fairchild? No, I said. Thank you, Gregory. He nodded once and left. I stood alone at the head of the table, the screen still glowing with Grandma Eleanor's handwriting. 30 minutes. I didn't move until the clock hit 9:29. The blizzard slammed the windows at 6 p.m. Exactly 30 minutes after the deadline, 6 black-suited security officers appeared in the family wing. No discussion. They moved room to room, collected every suitcase, every designer bag, every forgotten charger. I watched from the owner's mezzanine as they marched the 5 of them down the grand staircase. Brandon still screaming threats, face purple. Haley barefoot in the snow boots she'd grabbed in panic. Mom clutching a single photo frame. Dad carrying nothing, staring straight ahead like a man walking to his own funeral. Riley sobbing so hard she could barely stand. At the front entrance, the wind hit them like a wall. -18 gusts over 50 miles an hour. The guards set the luggage in a neat row on the plowed circle drive, then stepped back inside. Brandon tried to charge the doors. 2 officers blocked him without effort. The automatic glass slid shut and locked. Through the frosted panes, I saw headlights appear, 2 resort Suburbans idling to take them to the Reno airport. The drivers stayed in their seats. No one was getting back inside. Brandon pounded on the glass one last time, mouth moving, no sound reaching me. Then the wind swallowed him. The vehicles disappeared, downshifted, and vanished into whiteout. I turned away. 18 months later, public records told the rest of the story better than I ever could. Brandon filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy 4 months after we got home. All assets liquidated. The Aspen Chalet deposit forfeited. The Cayman's account frozen the day the bank fraud charges were filed. He now lives in a studio above a vape shop in Sparks, working nights as a casino dealer, the one job they couldn't bar him from. Haley left him the week the indictment dropped. Last I heard, she was selling real estate leads door to door in Phoenix. Mom and Dad lost the house to foreclosure when the secret $4 million debt surfaced in Discovery. They downsized to a 2-bedroom rental in a Sacramento suburb where the HOA won't let them park their old Lexus in the street. Riley dropped out of college sophomore year. Her TikTok account, once 1.2 million followers, now sits at 11K, and hasn't posted since the day the video of Brandon being dragged out of the gala went viral, with 42 million views. I changed my number the day I got back from Tahoe. Blocked every email domain that contained the word Carter. Sold the family house I never lived in anyway. Moved the proceeds, went straight into a scholarship fund for kids who actually earn their way. Sometimes late at night, I walk the empty corridors of the lodge, boots echoing on marble that used to belong to someone else. The staff still call me Miss Fairchild. The biometric locks still open at my touch. The lake is still frozen most winters. I kept Grandma Eleanor's watercolor above the safe. Nothing else. Family isn't blood. It's the people who respect you when you have nothing. I had nothing for 28 years. Now I have everything, and I'm finally free.